So I'm going to start recording. So officially, good evening. Um, I don't know if you remember, but the first week we study this topic that it was higher education. All right. First, before we start, it is important to remember, okay, what is higher education, right? In the test, I'm not gonna ask you for a specific concept, you know. There are some multiple choice questions or statements that you're going to select. However, they are not like very, very specific things. You know what I mean? Like, um, I'm pretty sure that you would identify them easily. That's why that part has only 2.5, of your general score. So the first five questions are equal. Well, each of the questions is equal to zero point 0.5. Okay. So the other questions from question 5 to I'm sorry, from question 6 to 10, those are questions that requires analysis using your own criteria and words. And that's what really matters at the end, that you are able to express, what you think, and also based on the information that we have been discussing in the last 5 sessions. Okay, so that's my expectation. Um, you have a lot of time for answering the test, plus you will have two two attempts, so there is not excuse for getting a 10. Okay, so hopefully you get a 10. Now first we're going to clarify the main objective of higher education. I would like to ask you if you remember what is the main objective of higher education. Can you guys share it if you remember? Anybody? Mm-hmm. Only one, not two. Okay, can anybody like share an idea about it? Like, what's the main objective of being in higher education? I mean, you are in higher education and you are about to graduate. So, what's the main objective of being here? Mm-hmm. Anybody? 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 Any idea? Comment? Even if you don't like, if you think that you don't know, then it would be no to share that. It would be good to share that. So, anybody?
No, everything is clear, mister. Thank you.
No, what I'm saying, what I'm saying is like, if you know, all right, what's your objective? I mean, what's the objective of being in higher education? When we study this topic, I mention it and I point out really important aspects about uh, what does higher education mean, and also I point out some important responsibilities that university students have. So can you try to remember what was it?
Uh, I can say this in technical words or the literal,
Okay.
like in a class. But I consider that higher education is. I remember that this is all the all the types of study of education that has in a university or some courses, uh, some online courses, and you can maybe find on internet. But higher education is also the formal education in university or college. uh, that's it.
Thanks, Dennis, for trying. Okay, but like as students, guys, what should be your objectives? You know, as a university student, what are some responsibilities that you have with your community or society?
Um, um, Try to do the best, the best work or in your in your in your life and in the others. So the objective of the student of higher education student is to acquire the knowledge that the experienced people or teachers, facilitators provide us, and to and apply this in your life, in your work or lifestyle.
Okay, thank you again, uh, Dennis. Is there anybody else who would like to share with us? We got like 15 students, so I think that from 15 brains we can get like 15 good ideas. So I want you to participate more because this is a question that it could appear in the test, and if you don't answer it, then you're gonna have problems in the test. And it's not about the test; it's just to remember if the information that I have given you has been useful. So I'm gonna ask again. What do you think is your objective of being in higher education? What are some responsibilities that you have as a student?
Hello.
Hello?
I think that one of my responsibilities is that I have to develop uh, all my knowledge with uh, the society and maybe um, to help others with my knowledge, with what I have learned, what I know about something, and to give a hand.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks for sharing. And yes, in simple words, that's what it is. Thanks for sharing. Here we have the three functions of higher education, right? We have the information, the education that you get, research, which is essential. And in the first class, I was very specific in this part. Students in higher education, they should focus on research and also to contribute to the society. You know what I mean? Like in this level, you should be like looking for problems and also contributing to your community. As the previous student was sharing, she was saying that to transmit or to teach what she knows, and that's part of it. That's part of the contribution. I remember that in the first class, I was making a comparison between universities in the US versus our universities. Some of the students in the universities there or in college, they usually go to other countries for volunteering job, for research, etc. Right now, those projects help with their research and also they contribute to society. They have teaching practice in public schools. They also go to communities where education is difficult. It has a difficult access for users, so they do that. Right now here in El Salvador, we haven't invested much on research. UGB is investing in research. However, in the last years, like in the practice, it should be it should be better, you know, for students that are in a higher level, like you guys. Like maybe you should be running researchers about problems that we have in society. I mean, in your case, would be like in the English area. Maybe you could be running investigations in schools, in public schools, about learning problems, about factors that affect learning, etc. Right? And also implement projects for helping your communities. Okay, so these is basically the main objective and responsibilities, okay, of higher education: research and contribution to society or community. Okay, that's the important part of this class, or in this class. That was uh, the first thing that I mentioned it in the first class, and that's the core of the presentation. Okay, as university students, it would be your duty to spend time on research and contributing to society. All right, so is there any questions so far, or any comment, opinion, complaint, something? If not, I would like to move on to the second thing that I want to share. All right, well, let me know or interrupt me if you have any question. Okay, now then we had teaching young adults, right? In this class, we were learning um, some differences, right? We were learning and discussing some differences between teaching young adults and also adults, right? Um, Taking into account that uh, students are different, right? They have different characteristics. You know, they have different level, age, capacities, or even problems. So we need to think about the methodology that we're going to use, right? Um, and that will depend on the goal, you know, that you want to achieve with your students. Um, Here we were discussing two things, right? We were discussing the language learning, right, or the language acquisition. And we were saying that young learners, they acquire language, right, unconsciously. Some of them, they learn by playing, you know, some of them learn by small interactions and all that. And adults, they get involved into the conscious process. That means that adults, they know what they're doing, or supposedly they know, right? Because there are some special cases, and you can see it here in the university. You know, you can see it there. Some students, they don't know what to want, you know. So that's why in high school, it's important to take a time for deciding what to study. You know, some students actually take 1 year, you know, for thinking and for finding out what they want, you know, in what area they want to specialize themselves. So um, this is the main difference, okay? Remember, young learners, they acquire the language unconsciously, and adults, they they get involved in a conscious process because they have previous experience, okay? Adults, they have previous knowledge about the language, okay? And they can also acquire the syntax and morphology better than young learners, you know, like referring to kids. Maybe young learners, they can also understand it. So there is a significant difference there. Um, I don't know. Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
No, sir.
No. If you have a question, let me know. The most important part here is to differentiate the different stages and how the learning process is, because there have been many theories about age. Most of the time there have been some theories, or there have been some beliefs that kids, children, they learn faster than adults. And well, we have believed that because kids can pronounce the language better, or it sounds like it has like a native accent, like so maybe that's why most of the people think that. But according to some researchers, that's not true, and that has some differences. I would like to know, guys, if you know the differences between kids, young adults, and adults. Do you know the difference about learning a language? Any ideas about that?
I think that it's the range of the age, maybe, and how they learn. Something I think that kids are like 1 to 10, and they learn in one way, maybe with games or something like that. Then we have the young adults that are like teenagers, and they can learn through the use of technology, and young adults that are like us, as students, right? That we can learn through practice. That is one of the best methods.
All right. Thank you, Diego. Thanks for participating, and thanks for that that opinion, which is true, right? Like kids, you mentioned something important. Kids learned by playing. Okay, kids learn by playing. For example, and I'm gonna put this example in scenario in a scenario, so you can picture the scene. Imagine yourself in a classroom with 10 children. They are between 4 to 6 years old. Okay, they don't know how to write, they don't know how to read in Spanish nor English. Okay, and you are the teacher, you are the English teacher. How would you teach them? hmm How would you teach them?
We a lot of games like Jangle or puzzle. We with games. This is the I think the only way.
Okay, anybody else?
If hello,
Hello, Isaac.
if I were the teacher, I would use some pictures because the students are going to relate like the image, and probably I'm going to teach them the meaning of that thing in both languages, in Spanish and in English.
All right, all right, somebody else? Well, now I would like to ask you this. Have you ever taught a class like for kids, for children? Anybody in this conference? No, because you already had your practice, right? Your teaching practice in public schools, right? Am I right?
Yes, but unfortunately, we didn't give any class because the lockdown started at that time.
Oh my bad. All right. Okay. Well, Gilbert said that he has. So Gilbert, how do you deal with that?
Well, in my case, it was a small group in my village. The ones I taught for some months, and uh, to teach kids, it's easier because they learn everything, and they learn by playing, as my classmate said, by with images, with games, with uh, activities like that, and they will remember everything you teach them.
Okay. All right. Well, now I would like to thank you, Gilbert. I would like to clarify some things when you're teaching kids. Um, Imagine that you enter to your classroom and you start like, okay, guys, good morning. Uh, Today we're going to learn about the verb be, and you start writing on the board, and you start talking about things that they don't care. They don't pay attention. I'm telling you this because the first time that you have a class with kids, you need to investigate first. uh, Kids, they don't care about grammar rules. They don't really care. You cannot teach grammar to kids because they don't like that. They learned vocabulary. Okay, so focus your class on vocabulary, and they will be acquiring the grammar unconsciously. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know that it's grammar, but they will be learning like words, and then as the time pass by, then they will be getting like more complex sentences. You know what I mean? But one important aspect is that kids, they will repeat what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, they acquire a native accent, like, okay? But it doesn't mean that they will learn faster than adults or young adults. You know what I mean? What is true is that they will acquire a native accent, like, but they won't do it so good in the grammar part. They won't pay attention to that. So, according to some researchers, and also according to my experience, I have worked with kindergarten kids. I worked for 1 year. That was my first group. And I remember that at the beginning, my first class was a disaster, because I didn't have experience. And I started like reading about how to teach kids. And I found out that having kinesthetic activities with them helps a lot. Showing them visuals, like pictures, that's also helpful. That's also helpful for them. Um, so basically, if we think in general terms, the difference between kids, young learners, and adults is that kids, they would get a more native accent, like, okay, but it doesn't mean that they will learn the whole language faster than an adult. Young adults, on the other hand, they can learn, okay, they can learn the grammar part and morphology and syntax as well. And according to some researchers, they have found that young adults can acquire, or learn, the language. They can acquire the language faster than adults. So when you are an adolescent, it would be a good age for learning a language because you know how to read, you know how to write. So you somehow you are aware, of the things that you are learning, but obviously there are some factors also that are important to take into account, like motivation, teaching styles, and also learning styles. However, if we talk about adults, the difference is that adults, they are aware of um, the learning process. Adults, they have a great learning experience. They have learned different things. They know about English because they have had classes before. They know about learning styles because they have been to school before. You know what I mean? So that is the main difference. Adults, they come to the class with great learning experience, okay? And also, one of the things that adults always care about is that if they always ask you, teacher, um, why is this important? They ask you that, and how is this going to be useful for my life? So they ask you about it, and having that into account, okay, thinking about that and asking them and showing them how important is what you're teaching, then they would pay more attention, you know, to what you're teaching, actually. So that is basically one of remarkable differences between adults, young adults, and also kids. Okay, adults, they have great learning experience. All right. Okay, let's move on. Is there any question or comment so far? You let me know. Okay, you write in the chat, you raise your hand or whatever. All right. So now I would like to recall this topic, which was interesting and it was also great, and it's the inclusive education. All right. Now here, based in our reality, I remember that in this class we were discussing that maybe in our reality they're not like sufficient development in this area. However, we also were offering solutions, you know, and it is important to think about the topic because we have every day we're getting more kids with some psychological issues, with physical problems, you know, handicapped students. Sometimes they don't have access to education. Plus, we do not have enough training in the area. You know what I mean? Like in this class, we were talking about sign language. You know that it's also part of the inclusive education, but most of the teachers, they're not prepared for this. You know what I mean? So, Ministry of Education should be worry about this part because if there is an institution, you know, for this, if there isn't an institution, a specialized institution, then where do these students go, you know, to learn? Like if university students, for example, are not ready, or university teachers are not ready for this, for offering a service to this kind of cases, then it's hard, you know, it's really hard to improve in this area, you know. I remember that in that moment we were discussing and giving our opinions about uh, the the lack of knowledge and preparation that we have in this area. Other countries, they are basically working in that, you know, they're working in that, and that's beautiful. Maybe one day in our reality, maybe we can have uh, you know, a university or schools that accept all cases, and you know, teachers, hopefully teachers are prepared for this because most of us we were not prepared, you know what I mean? Like there wasn't a class of how to treat kids um, with problems, you know, with psychological problems, or with any physical problem like death, you know, how to teach blind people, for example. So they have special needs, and somehow like they need special care. However, in a reality, that you know that doesn't happen as is supposed to happen, and we are like kind of far of this dream, you know, of accepting all kind of students in our universities or even schools. And one of the options that the government have taken was to create a specialized schools for that, you know. Um, but with this inclusive thing, then which is something visionary, um, they say that it would be good to accept them, you know, in all of the formal educational system, you know. So, any questions so far or opinion about this? Is there any question, opinion, or comment? Does inclusive education has to do just with physical limitations or psychological limitations?
most of the time it could be in that way, but the most that we consider as inclusive education is when they have something physical condition, no psychology, like the boys that have autism or hyperactivism,
Yeah,
they are excluded from the teachers also because they behavior right,
yeah,
but it is in the most of the time it is not considered like like that to include them because they think and the most of the people think oh they need to have their own stage just for them, and I think
okay. Thanks for that important opinion. And then you're right. Like people like or these kind of students with autism, sometimes they have crisis, and if you don't know how to treat them, then that's a problem. And that happens in university as well because kids with autism or adults with autism, they see colors differently. Some colors offending them. Some uh, activities, make them feel uncomfortable.
the
Sometimes,
noise.
yeah, noise, and also they don't like physical contact. You know what I mean? So
Mhm. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Continue. Go ahead.
No, I have the experience to have this kind of children. They are so sweet, but as you said, when they are in crisis, you need to be patient, and you have to keep the control with him, and then with the others that you have there. And if oh my god, if he is adult, maybe they keep control by themselves sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Um, I've been in a training about this kind of issues, and one of the techniques that they share with us was like to create a corner, a corner, a rest corner for students, and not just for people with autism, but for everybody. Like they're like you create like a corner, like you decorate a corner with car I mean cardboard paper or something. You decorate it, and when somebody like has a crisis or somebody like needs to be alone, you can just tell them to go there, and then you can have Play-Doh or something to like press, you know what I mean? Like there are some balls that people use to control like anxiety or stress. Have you seen these balls that they're very like soft? So uh, they were telling us that you can create that corner in your classroom in order to control those cases, and then when kids like relax, then they can go back to the class. And that was one of the things that they were sharing with us. However, if we don't get trainings about it, then inclusive education, it's just a dream. You know what I mean? So we need to work harder in that part. So that's one of the things. However, inclusive education also comprise more things like race. Like maybe in El Salvador, we're not like racist. Maybe in private schools, I mean sometimes, but like in public schools, I don't think like that we have like those kind of problems. Like in the U.S., that's another story. What have the cases, right, that people have killed and shot you know students, and for different reasons, bullying and all that. uh Maybe like religious would be another important topic. Sexual orientation as well has to do with inclusive education. And in that part in El Salvador, we have a long way to walk, I would say, because we cannot judge people by their race, religion, way of thinking, or even sexual orientation. Um, our duty would be just to love people, you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter like how they are. I mean, that's our duty, just to love them. And we have to be tolerant, you know what I mean? Because we're not perfect as well. And that's part of inclusive education. So thinking about that, what the value that should be there is respect, you know what I mean? Because like, I don't care if you are white. Yeah, we have 1 minute left. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. So I don't care if you're white, if you are Afro-American, if you're Spanish, I don't care. I mean, I'm just teaching. So if you, I just know humans, okay? I don't know any other race or species, okay? I am a human and I see humans. I don't see colors. So that should be our aim, you know, to accept people and to take the opportunity, you know, to know them better and not to create judgments, okay, based on how they look. All right. So that's something that we have to take into account. All right. Now, we have 1 minute left. I'm going to create another conference for discussing the last two presentations about week 4 and week 5, and then we finish. Okay, so I think that in the next video conference we will have just like 20 minutes or maybe 40 for ending this up. All right, so join the video conference again, please. I'll see you in 30 seconds.